Let's find a new way to use our old makeup. Today I'm going to teach you how to turn old powdered makeup, such as this Kylie pressed illuminating powder in shade Quartz, into some watercolor paint. Your first step is going to be removing all of the product from your compact. I'm using a small teaspoon to do this, but you can use any tool that you have on hand. I take care to make sure I get every last bit out of the compact because I'm not going to be able to get any more of this pigment and I don't want to waste any of it. Makeup does expire, but not for paint making purposes. So what expires is actually the protective stuff in the makeup that keeps bacteria from growing after you reintroduce your makeup brushes into it. Now for paint making, this doesn't matter because you're not going to be using it on your skin. So even if it is expired, it's still going to make great watercolor paint. Your next step is to channel your college years and chop that stuff up party style. The finer that you can get this powder, the better and easier it will be to use in all of your remaining steps. Spend a little bit of extra time on this step if you can. It will definitely pay off later. Your next step is to add an equal volume of watercolor binder to your pigment. Watercolor binder is the liquid used to make watercolor paint, and it is the paint's medium. A different medium can make a different kind of paint. You can use this process to make acrylic paint with acrylic medium, or even oil paint if you used unboiled linseed oil. Much like your party style step, if you spend a little bit of extra time blending the two materials with your palette knife, you are going to have a lot easier time moving forward. Your next step, and this one is optional, but it does make for a superior paint, is to use your paint Muller to further incorporate those two materials. This step can take anywhere between 15 minutes and an hour and a half. It truly just depends on the pigment that you are working with. In my experience, most of the time, it doesn't take me more than about 25 minutes to mull all of the pieces of a makeup product. Your goal when making paint is to incorporate these two materials as well as you possibly can. So if you see little chunks like you see on the screen here, you are not quite done yet. But as soon as you can get to a point where there are no more remaining chunks, hey, guess what? You're done. And if you're still not quite sure if you're finished with your paint at this point, get some paper out and make some paintings. Do some swatches, put the paint on some paper, see what it looks like, and as soon as you're happy with the way that it looks, you are all finished. I've made a lot of makeup into a lot of paint, and so far I haven't found any powdered products that don't work for this process. This one turned out particularly beautiful. I really love the shine to it. It is not a particularly opaque paint now that I've finished with it, but this is meant to be a highlighter. It's an illuminating pressed powder, so I wasn't really having high hopes for its opacity. In my opinion, I think this would make an excellent paint for adding sparkly details to a piece of artwork, or just, I don't know, just trying to make a little bit more glow happen with an existing color. Maybe if you mixed it into a normal color that's not metallic, you could get a little bit of sparkle to it. So my channel is named Burgette Pigments, and I live in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and conservation is a top priority of mine. So if I have an opportunity to reuse something like the packaging from this makeup, I definitely will. I think the original compact makes a really cute presentation, and unfortunately all the paint that I made does not fit back into that compact. But you know what? That's okay. I put a couple extra bits of the paint into other little pans, and I actually had those for sale in my Etsy shop. If you'd like to try some Kylie Jenner illuminating pressed powder in shade Quartz watercolor paint, I have it available right now, and supplies are limited because what you see on the screen is everything that I have. All right, now here's the swatch. What I'm doing here is on the top black bar, I'm going to paint it a bunch. On the middle, I'm also going to paint it a bunch, but on the bottom, I am only doing one layer. Side note, I just recently discovered how much of a life changer a blow dryer is when you're using watercolor paint. It's so much faster. So you can see how well it came out. Now the top layer I did like 3 or 4 layers on, the middle the same, but the bottom is just 1 layer. You can see a little bit of the shine, and the consistency of the paint is pretty good. If you have a bunch of old makeup and you want to find a new use for it, I honestly can't recommend this enough. It's a wonderful way to get your money's worth out of the products and just to have a nice, peaceful day.